Guess who got brands talking? Brandlive.co.za.
The Weekly with Samm Marshall is a podcast series that engages with people that have set a bar for themselves in how they see the world and what they're willing to do to change it. People have built, designed, created thought, and imagined through creativity and imagination. Every week on The Weekly, we unpack and strip ideas and concepts we are completely terrified of. It's another episode of The Weekly with me, Samm Marshall, and as you know, every week we engage with thought leaders, individuals who are raising the bar for themselves and who are constantly asking questions about what more can I do, how can I do it better, what is out there, and also challenging themselves. And I think the biggest thing for me, and I'm on this journey at the moment, where the question is, what don't I know? And it's always encouraging to talk to individuals that are asking themselves that exact same question. And the person that I'm speaking to and about this morning is somebody who has got a vision. She's on a mission at the moment to get us all to talk, to engage, to understand the role that we play. And we're actually recording this podcast at her offices at the forum in Bryanston. The person that I'm talking about is a change activist, is a mentor, is a business owner, and is also the founder of an organization called W-Suite, who has partnered not only with media partnerships, but also influential people who want to make a change. And that person, of course, is Katie Mohamed. Katie, how you doing?
Very well, thanks, Sam.
Now, you know what, Katie, one of the things that you're on this mission at the moment to do this human trade exchange. You want people to understand the power and the connection they have to others. Talk to me about not only mentorship, but talk to me about where does that come from? This idea that if I speak to somebody, if I engage with a host of people, if I get them to share their time, if I get organizations to see the value they can bring, that it could change the world.
I think I've been on this mission all my life. I think I believe that from the time I was a young girl, I've always been that person who's always connecting people. I often think about, I come from a neighborhood in Richmond where I would bring, all the neighborhood kids together to read out the newspaper because I felt like I needed to tell them what is going on around the world. So I've always been a convener of bringing people together. And I think we sometimes take ourselves for granted because we get into corporate and then we get into the hub of actually working for someone. And because of who you are, you automatically have created these relationships because of who you are. And you end up having that for corporates as well. So your relationship is about you. It's your relationship about Sam. Your relationship is about Katie. But if you work for a company, automatically the people buy you. We always say that people buy from people. And over the years, it has been a very informal part of my life where I've always been able to, it was a natural thing to connect with people and introduce people to each other, until I realized that it needs to be formal. I need to create these platforms, get the influencers that I know. And I'm not talking influencers as in just mere celebrity influencers, influencers that are people that are making huge impacts in their worlds, whether it's in corporate, whether it's in their personal lives. So automatically over the years, I always say that last year was one of the very defining moments when I went to the President's Summit last year, the first one, and I looked at anybody that was there of influence that I've read about, and I realized that a lot of us have access to these people or might not have access to these people, but how do we get them? How do we find a seat at the table for other people? And that's where the idea was. It's really on this journey of finding a seat at the table. And if there isn't a seat, we're going to pull up chairs for everybody else. And so for me, I guess I've been on this journey of purpose for the past couple of years. And now, every now and again, I reflect about where I want to go. And I think I know that, like you said, when you start wanting to be a change agent, when you start wanting to know that you want to create social and economic impact, for society. And how do you do that? Because we know you do that with people. So that's where I'm at now.
So you know what? You and I get to spend a lot of time, whether it's just weekly or every second week, 5, 10, 15 minutes, and we talk about kind of where we are, how we view the world, what the things are that we'd like to impact. And I know this from a personal perspective, is that you're very driven, that it's something that I don't know if you're one of those people that go to bed with a little note. Your alarm clock is not an alarm clock, but it's just, Katie, get up, ready, take on the world. But I think one of the missing elements in mentorship is, and I want to, before we even talk about some other issues in relation to mentorship, one of the things, you need passion, you need drive. Talk to me about, have you always been that person? Or is the Katie that we're seeing now, that Katie understands the connection between passion and being driven? Or when did it start for you? When did the dots connect for you?
I think passion, I believe a lot of it is in your DNA. You have to be born with it. And maybe some of us, get it along the way. But I know for me, I know that if you speak to any of my family or people that I grew up with, I've always been a passionate person. I've always been ambitious. I knew I wanted to drive a car. I knew what car I wanted to drive. I knew I needed to, my first international trip must be to the land of the free, because we were so seduced by America at that time. So those were the things I was very clear about. So my passion I actually have a tattoo in Arabic. It's shaghaf. It's called passion. So I've always been passionate about life, about people, about things, and about the mere fact is that we should be just honored to be part of this universe.
Mentorship is something that we also talk a lot about, and you've got some very strong ideas around mentorship, role modeling, and also kind of the role that you can play for other people. Why do you think it's so important as a conscious human being to operate in that space and connect those dots?
I always say is that we need a clear distinction of of heroes, of role models and mentors. And I think that a lot of people just like, me, I'm sure you get this as well, where you just like walk up, you come out of speaking somewhere and they're like, oh, can you mentor me? And mentorship is a very personal relationship that you need to build up with someone. I always say, and that's why, with the mentorship masterclass that we are hosting pretty soon, it's really, I want to talk about how do we define heroes, how do we find role models, and how do we define mentors. For me is, I know, heroes for me is, it could be a superwoman. Role models are people that I either have spent time with. My role models I always talk about over the years have always been people like Carol Bauer, Basisana Kumalo, because they have also spent time with me. I've seen their journey, their challenges, their successes. I've embraced my friendship and my sisterhood with them. And I'm one of the fortunates to have role models like them. But I have role models that I might not have met, like Ariana Huffington, the Oprahs of the world.
But that's not a mentor.
As role models. And that's the difference is, Benazir Bhutto, those are role models. You watch, you observe, you see how their lives unfold. But mentorship for me it's a very personal connection. It's really about how do you want to make an effort to transform yourself, and then you engage with mentorship. I've had one mentor in my life, and I've often spoke about her, and Mambesi Tugwana used to head up the channels at the SABC, and for 4 years, without a doubt, I spent an hour a week with her for 4 years, and she is for me a mentor that has. When I speak to her now, she is so humbled that I mention her, but she doesn't realize the impact she's had in my life. But she's taught me things about how to speak, how to engage, how to act in corporate, because, sometimes because we are so great at what we do, there's a level of ego and arrogance that comes with it as well. That we don't know about it. 15 years later, you're like, in 2002, I might have been a little bit arrogant when I said those kind of things. But she was the one person that I know that called me to order on certain things, and I spent a lot of time with her, things that I should say, I shouldn't say, how I should, and my passion for broadcasting accelerated with my time with her. So for me, mentorship is a very personal thing. the challenge again with the world, we don't know what mentorship is. We like get up and we're like, oh, I'd love to be mentored by that person. Why do you want to be mentored by the person? Why does that person should mentor you? What's so special about you? And the other thing is, I've noticed with mentors that I have as friends that are mentors, that it's becoming a sponsorship thing. It's like, some mentees don't want to take their parents to a graduation. They want to take their mentors to a graduation because the mentors might have a huge following.
Or might be connected.
So I think we're kind of getting to a point at which I've personally noticed that you're drawing the line of what is this mentorship. And I think some mentors feel like people do cross the lines, and yes, it can be formal and. So for me, my journey is, as much as I would like to, continue mentoring people, I can't. I don't have the. I'm non-committal when it comes to time. Life is happening. It's busy. You chasing. We just like. So for me is, I found after working on this journey with W-Suite and how can we lead as women is, how do I take power mentorship and make it a thing?
And let's backtrack quickly, because you mentioned W-Suite. Now, for our audiences, just quickly, what is W-Suite? Just in case you're wondering what this is.
So W-Suite is a movement. W-Suite is a movement about how can we as women create, and men, because I always say men are allies, how could we create a platform to engage and inspire and accelerate the agenda of leadership. And leadership, I'm talking about women in corporate, I'm talking about philanthropists, I'm talking about business women, entrepreneurs. So how do we accelerate this agenda? Because we know that gender equality is a global challenge, it's a global agenda. My entire thing is that how do I assist in driving this agenda? Because we are. And number one is, how do I accelerate the brown girl agenda in all of this? Because we still have a lot of catching up to do. So W-Suite is a movement. It's really a platform where we engage, we create platforms, we bring people of influence, clients, corporates to come together to get other people to take them to the next level of where they need to be. So wsuite.co.za, let me just throw that one in there.
For sure.
Where you will literally hear what our ideas and our processes are.
And of course, the kitchen is here where we are this morning. It's at Brandfusion, your offices in Bryanston. That's where so if you're hearing a bang, a knock, an aircon, it's because we're doing this on location. Now, here's the definition of a mentor according to the University of Washington. A mentor may share with a mentee or protege information about his or her own career path, as well as provide guidance, motivation, emotional support, and role modeling. A mentor may help with exploring careers, setting goals, developing contacts, and identifying resources. Now, if you're getting into mentorship, you just said part of the reason I don't do it is because my life is in flux. I'm doing so many different things. What do you think is the problem here? Is it the reason I want Katie to mentor me is because she has opportunities to develop contacts, resources, exploring careers? Do you think that's with some mentees, that's maybe what they're thinking?
And I think that's the challenge. But I can't say it's all mentees that, because I know some mentees want to get to the next level. A lot of people are stuck. A lot of people are comfortable with where they are because of their security. I mean, we all want security. So yes, it's twofold. That a lot of mentees are seeing that there's an opportunity. And look, it's not a bad thing, but I think it's you need to draw the line of what you actually want, because there is so much more that you can get from a mentor. The wisdom, like you said, the knowledge, the expertise of the do's, the don'ts, where, as parents, I don't know, sometimes I think sometimes we are mentors to our children because we spend a lot of time telling them what not to do and they don't listen. So, so I think for me, mentees need to find out what they really want, because we're also living in a society at the moment that we have, it's an immediacy. We want everything now. And with mentors, they've earned their space. They've earned their stripes.
What does the formula look like in a perfect mentor-mentee relationship? What would it be? Something plus something equals something. What would it be?
It would be, I think it would be just it would be a symbiotic relationship for me. It would be I believe that mentors also get something from mentees as well. It's not always like, I'm here, I know everything, I've been there. No, because it's a symbiotic relationship, because also some mentors learn from their mentees because, they're relevant, they're current, they're innovative, and all of a sudden they don't know, they have all these ideas and they don't know how to get it. So it's a symbiotic relationship, definitely a symbiotic relationship. And also I feel that it's a feeding of the soul. Above everything else, it's that feel good that I am imparting knowledge and wisdom and expertise to someone that could take it and become. Like I said, when I speak to Mom Bessie, she has no words when she looks at me and seen my journey. And that's just a whole lot of humility that comes with it. So when you look at it, and it's like you bake a cake, and all of a sudden you've got all these things that you've baked a cake. You look there and you're like, oh my God, I did that. It's sometimes that's what a mentor looks at, that individual that they help mold, and say, hey, listen, I was part of that. And I think we need to own that as mentors as well. We need to own the fact is that we were part of someone's success.
Now, I know that there are levels of blessers in our environment, right? You get an ultimate blesser. I don't know. I'm not familiar with all the levels, but are there levels to mentorship? Are there kind of a mentor that specifically is a life mentor, a business mentor? And how do we then identify the right mentor, if you're a mentee, for kind of the journey? Because I believe people are with you for a journey.
Look, do we have the luxury of lifetime mentors? Let's be honest, not sure about that. I think there are different levels of mentorship, and that's why I'm also on this drive to create the power mentorship, mentoring. Is that there are different levels of mentorship. I know that I also work with the Mentorship Movement South Africa, who also have an amazing mentorship program. That's a long term. That's a 6-month, 9 months program as well. So but it's like formal agreements that so when you talk about levels of mentorship, there are formal agreements that need to be in place, and also the respecting of that formal agreement. But for me, is these days that kind of works in a different environment. I think in an environment where we are so fast paced, and we need things, and we need to meet with people. How do we get that? So for me is. And that's why with W-Suite as the movement, one of the outcomes from our summit in August was that how do we create power mentorships? How do we identify the mentees for different sectors? Because also, sometimes do we have generic mentors? Or do we have sector-specific mentors? Because I believe that it should be sector-specific mentors if you have a career, because that's where you see the value of it. So for me, is creating... kind of a speed dating mentorship, I think is important, because sometimes these mentors might not know who these young women are, or these women are, and now we are bringing the access of someone in property and constructions to a mentor in property and construction. She might not have, or they might not have access to this mentor, and the mentor might not know who these women are. So we are playing the conduit to actually bring people together. So I think there are different levels of mentorship. I'm somebody that's impatient. I want things to happen now. So for me, it's bringing these people together, and perhaps for me in a great environment, it would be hopefully these mentors that I'm bringing would identify women that they might say, hey, you know what, that is a diamond in the rough, or that one I could. So that's my purpose, is to also say to the mentors is identify people that you could maybe have a month relationship with, that you could make a difference. You and I both know that we don't need a 6 months relationship to be inspired, to be motivated, and to say, and get up and go. You can do it in 10 minutes. So for me, is in 10 minutes with spending time with the mentor, and all of a sudden she says, I'm going to create an email trail with 5 people that I'm going to introduce you to. I am going to do this for you, to do that for you. In a month, you've had a mentor.
I wanna have a chat to you about the good habits of a great mentor, right? But I just want to come back to something you talked about, that diamond in the rough. How do you spot potential in someone? Because, and maybe there's a layer to my question. Do I need to already have a suit be in university in my final year or going on my way to my final year? Do I need to be at a corporate? Do I need to meet you at an event in order to be your mentee? Or how do you spot the potential? Because sometimes somebody with a mentor could be really great, but don't know they need a mentor.
You know, I think about it as when you walk into a room and you see a guy, I'm talking about me. If you see a guy and you're like, you already look at him, there's an energy exchange. There's something that you know that is special. So that's the first one. You know that when you walk in, there's somebody that has something. The second part is the moment they speak. You know what they're saying is attractive. It is, you could see the passion that comes out of there. You could see they're changing the atmosphere around them. That for me is already, and the way people speak, you know that. The way people speak, you're already seduced, I walk around, and also as I always say, we call the elders now these days, as elders.
Have you made peace with that word yet?
I have made peace with that. As elders, I've noticed that we need to be very observant. We need to be very present wherever we are, because that is where you spot the people that with talent. Sometimes they're too shy, but you can see their talent. I know one amazing young girl, Intabi Mojaji, that when I met her, I know her brother, of course, Paul Mojaji, and Intabi was always there, in the background.
In the background, yeah.
And when I got to spend time with this women, I was totally seduced by the amount. This young girl with the amount of knowledge that she has, with the amount of, and she just needs the next level. So when she says to me, I want you to mentor me, I am immediately saying, I am honored because I see how successful you can be if I can help you along the journey. So yes, it's the way people speak. It's the way they talk. That is why I always say that social media is so important when you post things that speaks to that value or aspiration. Yes. And then I'd like to follow this person because I like what they're saying. And yes, we all like to look at beautiful pictures, but what is the content that they're saying? So yes, you as a mentor, I can also identify people that I would like to spend time with. Yeah.
So according to the Franchise Growth Partners platform, there are a couple of good qualities a mentor needs to have. One of them is willingness to share skills, knowledge, expertise. The other one is demonstrate a positive attitude and acts as a positive role model, takes a personal interest in the mentoring relationship, exhibits enthusiasm in the field, and values ongoing learning and growth in the field of expertise. Your thoughts on that? What are, for you, maybe 3 things that you think a mentor in South Africa, in the current climate of where we are trying to raise funds through investors, we've got an unemployment rate that is a record high, and there are so many things happening, crime, everything else. What are the 3 things a mentor in South Africa will need to have?
I think, South Africa. I think they need to be authentic. I think the most important thing is you need to be authentic as a leader. So as a mentor, just be authentic, because when you are out there trying to help people and grow people and they need to buy you. And if they're not going to buy you and they're going to buy the fakeness of it, then, there's nothing genuine about it. So be authentic. Have intent. So really in everything that you do, have intent. And the third thing is, as a mentor is, lead with purpose as well. So those are the 3 things for me is, as a mentor or as a leader, lead with authenticity, with intent and purpose.
Katie Mohamed, thank you very much for joining me on the weekly, and it's always a pleasure talking to you. It's really the first time I get to sit down and have a formal interview with you and a conversation with you around kind of where mentorship is at and what we kind of need to do. So if you want to find out more about Katie and the projects that she's involved in, you can log on to her platform. There is a link from Brandfusion to W-Suite, but you can also follow her on her social media platforms. Where are you?
Okay, so on Instagram, I think all of us are on. Katie_Mohamed. On Twitter, it's KTBM, KAYTWEBM. And on Facebook, Katie Mohamed. So you can catch me on that. But I often say, Sam, you're like one of my allies. You are I always say I'm one of those women that have a seat at the table with the guys. I must say that I'm always so grateful to spend time with you. So I know that we spend a lot of time via voice notes and telephone, but also, you add so much value to people as well. We've come a long journey from the SABC, but I think we've just grown. And I look at both of us, and you're like, wow, we just such.
And I didn't even talk to you about, but maybe when you come back, we'll talk about your trip to Dubai and what you've learned internationally around mentorship and how we fundraise and all of that kind of stuff. But I want to play this little clip. I found this clip, and on the weekly, I like finding famous movie scenes and trying to grab something. This is something from Rocky, where Stallone talks to his son.
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you wanna be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that.
The Weekly with Samm Marshall is a podcast series that engages with people that have set a bar for themselves in how they see the world and what they're willing to do to change it. People have built, designed, created thought, and imagined through creativity and imagination. Every week on The Weekly, we unpack and strip ideas and concepts we are completely terrified of.